You think you want the truth? You think power makes you untouchable? But look at your hands. They are already shaking. Sit down. Let me show you exactly how this machine will slowly, inevitably, strip away your humanity. Level 1. The Applicant. The Hollywood illusion. Look at your hands. They are shaking. You always thought you were the good guy, the righteous hero of your own movie, but the machine strapped to your chest is about to pull every filthy secret out of your throat. Welcome to Shadow POV. If you want to survive this simulation and uncover the brutal truths they actively hide from you, please hit subscribe right now. Now, sit still. You are trapped in a sterile, windowless room, sweating completely through your shirt for the FBI Phase 1 polygraph test. Forget that pathetic Hollywood illusion. Forget Clarice Starling and Fox Mulder. The Bureau absolutely does not want heroes. They just want highly compliant puzzle solvers. The interrogator staring back at you has dead, cold eyes. He cares strictly about measuring your baseline anxiety. The wires painfully dig into your skin. Understand this. It is not a lie detector. It is a psychological weapon designed solely to induce pure panic. He coldly asks about illegal drugs. He asks about foreign contacts. Your heart violently races. You bleed your minor sins onto that table. Terrified the jumping needle will catch you, you pass, mistakenly thinking the hardest part is over. You know nothing. Level 2, new agent trainee, the Quantico meat grinder. You walked out of that polygraph room thinking you survived the worst, but you are completely unprepared for the Quantico meat grinder. I walk beside you through the hallowed halls of the FBI Academy, quietly mocking the dark bags forming under your eyes. Did you honestly believe your law degree actually prepared you to get pepper sprayed directly in the face? Your alarm screams at 5 in the morning. You stumble into the freezing Virginia air for the physical fitness test, vomiting in the damp grass before getting thrown ruthlessly onto the defensive tactics mats. They break your body down just to see if your mind will shatter. Then they push you into Hogan's Alley. It looks like a fake town, but it is a psychological slaughterhouse. The instructors play bank robbers. You are handed a training weapon. Your hands are slick with nervous sweat. You approach a doorway, completely forgetting about the fatal funnel. That is the invisible box of space where you are totally exposed to incoming fire. A cardboard cutout of a man holding a gun pops out from behind a wooden counter. You hesitate. You pull the trigger a fraction of a second too late. In the real world, you are already dead. The instructor screams viciously in your face, humiliating you until you feel like nothing. But physical survival is merely an illusion. You slowly realize the true weapon of the Bureau is not the standard issue firearm on your hip. It is the paperwork. Level 3, Probationary Special Agent, the desk jockey. When you finally grasp that the real weapon is the paperwork, they throw you into the agonizing reality of the field. I lean against the cheap fabric wall of your gray cubicle and quietly watch the profound disappointment wash over you. You are officially a probationary special agent, shipped off to a bleak Midwestern field office you never asked for and deeply resent. There are no brilliant serial killers maliciously waiting for you here. There are no dramatic rooftop chases. There is only the van. You spend 12 excruciating hours a day locked in the back of a surveillance vehicle that perpetually smells of stale donuts and cheap cologne. You sit in the suffocating heat, listening to a court-ordered Title III wiretap. For weeks, your entire existence is reduced to hearing a low-level drug distributor bitterly argue with his girlfriend over groceries. Then, you heavily return to the local office to face the true master of the Bureau. Form FD-302. In this bleak world, if a conversation is not meticulously documented on a 302. It simply did not happen. You realize with a crushing weight that 90% of your glamorous career is just soul-draining data. Entry for federal prosecutors. Level 4, field agent, violent crimes, the blood on your shoes. Just when you think that endless paperwork has completely crushed your spirit, they finally hand you a helmet and point you toward the real streets. It is 6 in the morning, and the frigid air bites at your face as you stand outside a decaying trap house. I stand right beside you, quietly watching you sweat under 30 pounds of heavy olive drab tactical armor. You are tightly stacked up with a regional SWAT team waiting for the breach command. The heavy door splinters open. A flashbang violently detonates, temporarily blinding you and rattling the teeth inside your skull. Breach and hold. The team leader barks. You sweep your muzzle through the suffocating darkness of the hallway. Then you see it. Your very first actual crime scene. It is a brutal gang execution left to rot on a filthy, stained mattress. The heavy stench hits the back of your throat before your eyes even adjust to the shadows. It is an unforgettable, metallic reek of dried copper, voided bowels, and pure human decay. I look at your pale face and ask how that cold cup of gas station coffee is sitting in your stomach right now. The Hollywood glamour is permanently dead. You quickly realize that dragging this specific shooter away in handcuffs will not fix this thoroughly shattered neighborhood. You are simply applying a tiny bandage to a massive arterial bleed. To survive this grim reality, you begin aggressively building thick psychological walls. You silently compartmentalize the bleeding trauma. Level 5, the undercover agent, the descent into the gray. To escape the lingering stench of the streets, you volunteer to completely disappear into the shadows. I whisper directly into your ear as you stare at a stranger in the mirror. You are growing out your hair, abandoning your actual identity for a meticulously crafted undercover operation. They hand you a pristine fake social security number, a sterile apartment, and a hollow life. You successfully infiltrate a sophisticated white-collar money laundering syndicate. Your new friends do not sling drugs on filthy mattresses. They move millions through spotless shell companies in Delaware. You must live side by side with these predators. You smoke their imported cigars. You drink their aged scotch. You watch them utterly destroy innocent lives and finance global misery. Yet you sit there smiling, doing absolutely nothing while you agonizingly wait for the Department of Justice to give you the green light. We deploy the MICE protocol: money, ideology, coercion, ego. You isolate the syndicate's mid-level accountant. You discover his fragile ego is deeply bruised by his arrogant boss. I watch you expertly exploit that emotional wound. You become his closest confidant, a fake brother, carefully grooming him just like a predator stalks prey. You gently convince him to become a confidential human source, promising him absolute federal protection. Months later, the heavy raid finally crashes down. The cold handcuffs click shut, and you are forced to look him in the eye. He stares back, completely shattered, realizing his trusted best friend was just a federal ghost. You systematically ruined a man's entire life simply to build your own career. I look at you now and ask, are you still the good guy pretending to be bad? Or just a bad guy who happens to carry a shiny badge? You realize you never sleep well anymore. Level 6, BAU Profiler, staring into the abyss. Once the moral weight of undercover work begins to fracture your psyche, you seek refuge in the calculated coldness of the Behavioral Analysis Unit at Quantico. I sit directly across from you at a desk cluttered with gruesome, high-resolution crime scene photographs, and I issue a final, ominous warning. If you stare into these monsters long enough, you will eventually start to understand them. And that realization will terrify you. You are no longer chasing bank robbers. You are hunting serial predators who thrive in the darkest corners of humanity. You immerse yourself in victimology, learning the clinical distinction between a killer's modus operandi, the mechanics of their violence and their signature, the twisted psychological ritual that feeds their insatiable urge. You frequently fly across the country to visit maximum security prisons, sitting in sterile, cinder-block rooms, interviewing pathologically manipulative psychopaths. You are mapping the geography of their madness, hoping to predict their next strike before they reach another innocent soul. They stare at you with dead, shark-like eyes, fully aware of the game you're playing. The toll this takes is slow, invisible, and utterly catastrophic. You stop seeing people as individuals and start seeing potential unsubs, unknown subjects in every stranger on the subway. You watch your neighbors and wonder what they might be hiding beneath the floorboards. You learn the most haunting truth of all. Evil is not a dramatic movie villain with a grand master plan. Evil is ordinary, painfully normal, and likely living right next door. Level 7, HRT Operator, Hostage Rescue Team, the tip of the spear. Desperate to escape the agonizing psychological rot of staring into the minds of psychopaths, you violently pivot toward pure, unadulterated physical action. You volunteer for the Hostage Rescue Team, the absolute tip of the spear, and the elite federal paramilitary wing. I calmly step back and watch you forge yourself into a cold, lethal machine, surviving a brutal selection process explicitly designed to break Navy SEALs. You wanted visceral action instead of dark thoughts. And now you are sliding down thick ropes out of Black Hawk helicopters into active combat zones. You deploy alongside classified military units to hunt crucial terrorist targets overseas, executing close quarters battle with flawless, deadly precision. Back on domestic soil, you handle heavily armed hostage barricades, operating under incredibly strict rules of engagement that constantly blur the line between officer and soldier. Then comes the inevitable night when a desperate suspect suddenly raises a rifle, and your relentless tactical training takes over before your human conscience can even object. You gently squeeze the trigger, neutralizing the threat instantly. The Internal Shooting Review Board quickly clears you, formally stamping the bloody incident as a fully righteous shoot, but they cannot erase the permanent psychological aftermath. A shiny gold badge does absolutely nothing to stop a flying bullet, and it certainly does not shield your fracturing soul when you finally lie awake in the suffocating dark. The deafening crack of that fatal gunshot rings continuously in your ears, a permanent reminder of the ultimate threshold you cross. Level 8, Special Agent in Charge, SAC, the politician. To bury the haunting echoes of that fatal gunshot, you trade your tactical gear for a tailored suit and ascend into the sterile realm of management. I stand in the corner of your massive office, clapping sarcastically as you adjust your tie. You are now the special agent in charge, commanding an entire field office. You no longer kick down doors. Instead, you manage bloated budgets, smile at cameras during press conferences, and appease bitter local police chiefs who despise federal overreach. You traded your weapon for an expensive fountain pen. And I have to ask, when did you stop caring about justice and start caring exclusively about optics? The inevitable crisis hits when a young, exhausted field agent, a kid who reminds you of yourself 20 years ago, makes a procedural error on a search warrant. It is an honest mistake, but the ravenous media catches the sense Headquarters calls your private line, demanding a swift sacrifice to protect the shield. You stare at the agent's personnel file sitting on your desk. Keeping him will derail your career and embarrass the institution. Without hesitating, you authorize his immediate termination, expertly throwing a good man under the bus to salvage the agency's public image. You have mastered the ultimate bureaucratic tradecraft of covering your own ass. As you sign the paperwork, the crushing reality settles over you like a shroud. You realize with absolute clarity that the institution is a ruthless political machine first, and a law enforcement agency second, level 9. Executive Assistant Director, the Washington Puppeteer. That calculated betrayal ultimately proves you are truly ready, catapulting you straight into the elite corridors of the J. Edgar Hoover Building. We walk side by side down these pristine, hushed hallways, and I must ask you, exactly how much of your remaining soul did you sell to claim this massive corner office? You are now the Executive Assistant Director, the ultimate Washington Puppeteer. Your entire existence revolves around the claustrophobic silence of a SCIF. Briefing the director, the attorney general, and the president, you routinely authorize classified FISA warrants, fully aware that countless ordinary American citizens will be swept up in your sprawling intelligence dragnet for national security. You expertly navigate treacherous political minefields that would instantly obliterate a lesser operative. When a highly powerful senator gets carelessly caught in a federal corruption probe, you quietly squash the entire investigation because the Bureau desperately needs his crucial vote to secure the annual budget. Conversely, when a dangerous political rival steps slightly out of line, you ruthlessly greenlight a targeted leak to the press, completely ruining them before noon. Up here, truth is no longer an absolute, measurable metric. It is merely a malleable tool. Absolute power is the only currency that actually matters. You sit in grand rooms, surrounded by powerful men who dictate the fate of the nation, realizing with sickening clarity that none of them are wearing white hats. It is all just varying, endless shades of gray, and you are the one holding the darkest brush. Level 10, the retiree, the ghost of justice. That intoxicating, absolute power inevitably expires the moment you hit the mandatory retirement age of 57. The simulation is finally ending, so I will sit with you on the quiet porch of your gated community and ask one last haunting question. Was all of this actually worth it? You are holding a commemorative wooden plaque and a shiny gold watch, comfortably supported by a generous federal pension. Yet, your third marriage just collapsed because you can never explain to a civilian why you wake up screaming in the dead of night. You are completely incapable of walking into a normal restaurant without demanding a seat with your back pressed firmly against the wall, obsessively scanning the entrance and analyzing the threat level of every single patron who walks through the door. Upstairs, you keep a heavy biometric safe packed with loaded firearms, simply because you know exactly what humanity is capable of when the lights finally go out. You carry the crushing weight of classified files you can never legally discuss. You are haunted by the desperate victims you were too late to save, and the innocent people you ruthlessly squeezed into prison just to meet a statistical quota for your next promotion. You are technically a civilian again, but you will never be normal. You are nothing more than a ghost permanently haunting your own life. Somewhere right now, a young kid is sitting in their cramped college dorm room, scrolling through the glowing FBI recruitment website. They genuinely want to serve their country. They want to be a hero, blindly imagining the crisp tactical jackets, the blaring sirens, and the glorious justice They have absolutely no idea what they are asking for, but they will eventually learn. They always inevitably do. The ruthless, endless cycle just begins again. We spend our entire lives chasing the illusion of power, falsely believing that reaching the absolute top of the ladder will finally bring us peace and validation. Through these intense simulations, we uncover a much darker, undeniable truth. Every single extreme ambition carries a devastating human cost. Whether you are climbing the ranks of an elite federal agency, building an underground empire, or manipulating the political machine, the currency you eventually pay with is always your own soul. The ultimate lesson here is not about glorifying the shadows or idolizing dangerous professions. It is a profound wake-up call about the immense value of your ordinary, quiet life. True power does not reside in holding classified secrets or controlling other people. It resides in your ability to sleep soundly at night without checking the locks 3 times. It lives in the authentic relationships you build, unburdened by the crushing weight of lies and hidden agendas. Moving forward, you must apply this brutal realization directly to your own daily choices. Stop romanticizing the toxic hustle or the dangerous extremes you constantly see in Hollywood movies. Start fiercely protecting your peace, your mental health, and your genuine connections. Understand that the most remarkable achievement you can ever unlock in this chaotic world is a simple life where you do not have to hide from who you have become. You hold the pen to your own story, so always write a beautiful narrative that allows you to remain fully human until the end. If you could choose between possessing absolute, limitless power but completely losing your peace of mind, or living a wonderfully ordinary life filled with genuine happiness, which path would you actually pick? Please take a moment to comment your choice down below so we can all share and discuss our perspectives. If you appreciated this deep dive and want to support the channel so we can continue bringing you these intense, high quality simulations, please hit that subscribe button right now